It was a stormy night, the kind that rattled the windows and filled the air with the ominous growl of thunder. Rain pelted the roof, creating a relentless drumming that masked all other sounds. Tom and Sarah were nestled in their bed, seeking comfort in each other's presence amidst the tempest outside. Suddenly, a loud thud shattered the uneasy peace. Sarah bolted upright, her heart pounding in her chest. The window had flown open, the curtains flapping wildly. She nudged Tom, but he remained deep in slumber, undisturbed by the commotion. Summoning her courage, Sarah slipped out of bed and approached the window. As she reached to close it, she glanced across the street and froze. A figure stood at the window of the house opposite, barely discernible through the rain. The person was motionless, a dark silhouette against the dim light. Sarah blinked, trying to make sense of what she was seeing, but the figure remained. She shook her head, dismissing it as a trick of the storm and her tired mind, and went back to bed. Hours later, the wind howled even fiercer, waking Sarah once more. She saw that the window was open again. Annoyed and a bit uneasy, she walked over to close it, casting a wary glance across the street. The figure was still there, standing as still as before. A chill ran down her spine, but she brushed it off again, blaming the storm for her frayed nerves. At around 3 o'clock, Sarah woke up with a start. The window was open yet again, and the room felt unnaturally cold. Dread settled in the pit of her stomach as she approached the window. She looked out, and there he was, the figure, still in the same spot. But this time, something was different. The person was waving at her, a slow, deliberate wave that sent shivers down her spine. Then, without warning, the figure leaped from the window, vanishing into the darkness below. Sarah gasped, stumbling back from the window, her heart racing. She turned and shook Tom awake, her voice trembling as she recounted what she had seen. Tom, groggy and skeptical, got out of bed and peered out the window. "There's no one there, Sarah," he said, rubbing his eyes. "It was probably just your imagination." Sarah knew what she had seen, but she didn't argue. She couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over her. As they lay back down, Tom holding her close, she tried to calm her racing thoughts. But sleep didn't come easily. The storm raged on, and every creak and groan of the house made her nervous. Around 4 o'clock, a loud banging echoed through the house. Both Tom and Sarah sat up, eyes wide with fear. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered. Tom nodded, his face pale. "Stay here," he said, grabbing a flashlight from the bedside table. "I'll go check it out." Sarah watched as he disappeared down the hallway, the flashlight beam bouncing. The minutes felt like hours, and the storm's fury seemed to grow louder. She listened closely, trying to hear Tom, but all she could hear was the rain and the occasional rumble of thunder. Suddenly, the flashlight beam flickered back into view, and Tom reappeared, his face pale. "The front door was wide open," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And there were wet footprints leading inside." Sarah's blood ran cold. "What do we do?" she asked, her voice trembling. Tom's jaw tightened. "We call the police," he said. "And we don't leave this room until they get here." He locked the bedroom door, and they huddled together, the phone clutched in Tom's hand as he dialed 911. The operator assured them that officers were on their way, but it would take some time due to the storm. Minutes felt like hours as they waited, every noise making them jump. Then, they heard it, a soft creak outside their door. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, and Tom's grip tightened on the flashlight. The doorknob turned slowly, and the door creaked open a crack. A cold draft filled the room, extinguishing the candle they had lit. In the darkness, they saw a shadowy figure standing in the doorway, rain-soaked and menacing. Tom shone the flashlight directly at the figure, and they both gasped. It was the same person Sarah had seen at the window, now drenched and pale, with a chilling smile on their lips. "Why are you here?" Tom demanded, his voice shaking. The figure stepped forward, the smile never leaving their face. "I needed to come inside," they whispered, their voice raspy and cold. "The storm is so unforgiving." Tom swung the flashlight, trying to fend off the intruder, but the figure seemed unfazed. They moved with an unnatural grace, their eyes locked onto Sarah. "You saw me," the figure said, taking another step closer. "You invited me in." Sarah shook her head, backing away until she hit the wall. "No, I didn't. I didn't mean to." The figure laughed, a hollow, chilling sound. "It doesn't matter. I'm here now." Just as the figure reached out towards Sarah, the sound of sirens pierced the night. The figure's smile faded, and they turned, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as they had appeared. Moments later, the police burst into the room, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Tom and Sarah collapsed into each other's arms, trembling with relief. The officers searched the house, but found no trace of the intruder. "You did the right thing, calling us," one of the officers said. "But with this storm, it's easy for someone to slip away." They secured the house and assured Tom and Sarah they would patrol the area for the rest of the night. Exhausted and shaken, the couple finally climbed back into bed, holding each other tightly. As the storm began to calm down, a sense of peace slowly returned. But deep down, Sarah knew she would never forget the face of the figure at the window, nor the bone-chilling fear that had gripped her that night. And every time the wind howled or the rain beat against the windows, she would remember the sinister smile and the whispered words, "I'm here now.